Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in once again to another episode of Ralston Speaks, brought to you by the Unific Brotherhood. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been quite a long time since I've made a broadcast, and I am really, truly sorry about that. I do have many things to take care of in my personal life. I believe the last episode, I was going to do some research on murdered African American men and women in our country and the outcomes of each case, the outcome of what happened to the police officers that murdered them in each case. Ladies and gentlemen, that was an overwhelming task, but I did research it and found the best website that pretty much covered 90% of all cases was a website called Know Their Names, K-N-O-W, Know Their Names. It has their pictures, their dates of birth, the date that they were murdered, the officers that murdered them, and what was a legal outcome, most of which were given paid leave or resigned voluntarily. But it gave list by list, case by case of each individual and the officers that murdered them and the outcome of the legal outcome of each officer. Today, as we know, is the newest federal holiday, or as I would like to say, the latest crumb thrown our way to keep us appeased, Juneteenth. It is the day that the last slave was actually led to understand that he was no longer a slave. He or she was no longer a slave. Well, in order to, as we know throughout history, in order to be financially compensated, we are talking about reparations now. We are never going to get reparations. We all know that this is a moot issue. But to avoid the true admission of guilt, in order to avoid financial compensation, we will be thrown sprinkles, crumbs every now and then to appease us. We're going to have we'll have streets named for a murdered civil rights leader. We'll have we'll give some of our artists and actors lifetime achievement awards. We'll be given a month to commemorate our history. Of course, the month will be February. No one will be able to march because they damn sure don't want to see us holding a parade because they don't want us out in public. In any way, shape, or form in whatsoever. So this is the latest sprinkling, and let us get back to why we are given these crumbs, these sprinkles, because America, the world, knows that. Let me back up for a moment. Now, in order to give reparations, many people believe that we are owed reparations, which we are, but to be giving us reparations in 2021, 2022, 2023 is, in today's dollars, ladies and gentlemen, we know that is not going to happen. During the Emancipation Proclamation, which was signed in 1862, the national deficit was $64.8 million in 1862 money. With the jump start, the elevation of slavery, hundreds of years of free labor, they still couldn't manage their money, bad investments, trying to run with the big dogs, Russia, Germany, Prussia, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Great Britain. They're spending more than they had, even with hundreds of years of free labor. The national deficit was $64 million. drop in the bucket in today's money, but back then that was quite a lot of money. So in order to admit that you did something wrong would take, here's what I'm trying to say. If you wrongfully accuse a man or a woman, send him to death row, find out 20 years later that that man or that woman is innocent, you apologize with money. In 36 of the, I believe the number is 36, in 36 of the 50 states, the monetary compensation ranges from $50,000 in most states to $80,000 in Texas. Texas even adds on an annuity of the same amount for each year a prisoner is wrongfully incarcerated. Ladies and gentlemen, that is an admission of guilt. You realize that you did something wrong and you compensated that individual monetarily for your wrongdoing. Now, our oppressors know in their minds that they did something wrong, but they also know that if they were to come out and admit that wrong, or if we let them not admit that wrong, then they would have to come out with their wallets and their checkbooks and make it right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is never going to happen. Now, the reason why I'm listed the national deficit in 1862, and today it's 23.3 trillion. The reason why I'm doing that is to paint a picture, ladies and gentlemen, paint a picture of the economy, whether the 64.8 million was the economy in 1862. After 400 years of forced labor, you still had a $64.8 million national deficit, as opposed to today, $23.3 trillion. Ladies and gentlemen, let me actually also add that not all states, now 36 states have financial compensation if you are wrongfully convicted. So, 36 states, $50,000 to $80,000. Now there's 14 states that do not. These states are Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Delaware, Georgia, Kentucky, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, redneck capital of the world, South Dakota, and Wyoming. So if you're in one of those states and you're wrongfully sent to death row or life imprisonment, and the DNA comes back, or someone admits in he didn't do it, then you may not even get verbal apology, much less a financial compensation, much less a financial one. So here is the reason for the research that I did today and last night and the night before. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people now, the reason why the Congress, these are Congress's words, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we compensate the wrongly convicted, it's called the Innocence Project. I'm quoting, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we should monetarily compensate, despite their proven innocence, the difficulty of re-entering society is profound for the wrongfully convicted. The failure to compensate them adds insult to injury. Now, these are wrongfully convicted men and women we're talking about. Wrongfully convicted. Is not wrongfully enslaved a little bit higher up on the totem pole, on the list of crimes, than wrongfully convicted of a crime in the United States of America? Ladies and gentlemen, apparently not. So let me go back. I've done more research, ladies and gentlemen. Have no fear. Let me go back to how profound slavery, the effect slavery had on the United States. A lot of people say Slavery helped, ladies and gentlemen, this is the fact. Slavery helped the U.S. go from a colonial economy, an economy based on agriculture, trading in livestock, corn, wheat, maize, fish, lumber, to the second biggest industrial superpower in the world in 1862. So from the 13 colonies until 1862, the United States was the second biggest industrial superpower on the planet. Now, they didn't get this way by accident. They got this way 300 years of forced labor. Many people, in order to downplay the scale of slavery, reducing it to a crime committed by, they reduced it to a crime committed by a few southern planters. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me shine a light. Let me shine a light on that false accusation. Ladies and gentlemen, slavery made people who didn't even, made the fortunes of people who didn't even live in the United States. Slavery made rich people who never even spoke English. Slavery was the prime, slavery and the effects of slavery and the outcome of crops grown by forced labor made millionaires on Wall Street who never set foot south of the Mason-Dixon line. Slavery made people who never lived in a big white house with pillars in the front, never whipped, raped, separated a slave mother from their children or a father from his wife. Slavery made millions for people who were never directly involved in the slave trade. As I speak these words, and I have done the research, and ladies and gentlemen, I have checked the financials, the national deficits of 13 countries from the time that the Americans started their first colony to 1862, and during the years the 400 years of active slavery, these 13 countries, whom of course would never outwardly say we support slavery, these 13 countries profited. Ladies and gentlemen, it was like night and day. From when there was no slaves, to during slavery, to after slavery, the economies of these 13, actually it was 16, these 16 countries exploded. And these countries, slaves, cotton clothed the world, ladies and gentlemen. The scope, the financial scope of what our backs did for the economy and the fortunes of countless people throughout the world is staggering, ladies and gentlemen. Yet, we still have to fight every step of the way to live in this country as fair citizens, to get equal pay, to not be falsely incarcerated, no stop and frisk. So, ladies and gentlemen, I announce today at 16:35, ladies and gentlemen, why should we contribute financially to a federal government that does not contribute morally to us? So basically what I'm saying is, Why should we, as people of color, contribute to the financial upkeep of a country that does not consider our moral upkeep? Ladies and gentlemen, today, Juneteenth, 2021, I have paid my last federal tax. Now, I've done some research on reasons, lists of people, the immigrants with green cards don't pay taxes. So there's a list of organizations. We all know nonprofit organizations do not pay taxes. U.S. citizens working abroad do not pay taxes. Low-income taxpayers do not have to pay taxes. Now, these last 2, 4, and 5 are what the rich. Jeff Bezos has never paid taxes. Neither has Elon Musk. Donald Trump has maybe paid taxes 2 or 3 times in his life, but the rest of the billionaires around the country use a loophole after loophole after loophole to get out of paying a single cent in taxes. Yet the IRS and the Department of Treasury do nothing, say nothing, and applaud them for their innovations. Well, ladies and gentlemen, these 2 innovations are taxpayers with many deductions are exempt from taxes, and taxpayers with many dependents are exempt as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we will use whatever it means necessary. Thank you, Malcolm X, Malik Al-Shabazz, for those words. I have paid my last tax. I will not pay my hard-earned money to a federal government that basically owes me and my ancestors money. I will not pay a single cent in taxes to a federal government that keeps me down monetarily, making it harder for me to make the money that I make today, as opposed to a white counterpart. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not pay taxes to the upkeep of a federal government that keeps me oppressed. I will lose any loophole I can come the beginning of each year to not pay tax. Now, I will pay tax to the state that I live in, because I do live in this state. Unfortunately, I do live in the state of South Carolina, which I'm sure that many of my ancestors were brought probably to the plantation 3 miles down the road. But ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to change your W-2s. Change your W-2s to 5 or 6, 8, 9, 10 dependents. Keep all the little bit of money that your white oppressors allow you to make as opposed to your white counterparts. Keep that little bit of money. At the end of the year, when the list of the dependents and Social Security numbers is asked for by the IRS, what are they going to do? They're not going to incarcerate 32 million of us who I hope are listening to me today. Paying taxes to a hostile government is like feeding and nourishing the slaver. It's like the feeding and nourishing the slaver that whips you into the fields every day. Here you go, massa. Here's your grits and shrimp and gravy. Thank you, nigger. Now get out in the fields and make me some more. We weren't afforded that liberty in the 1800s. But ladies and gentlemen, we can do it now. I encourage you. I have paid my last tax, my last federal tax. I will not contribute to the upkeep of an oppressor that keeps me down. I encourage not one more person of color pays taxes to this oppressive government. If they want to oppress us, let them do it without our money to do so. Let them oppress us with their money. Why should we contribute money to our own downfall? Ladies and gentlemen, please follow me. Pay your last tax. Let the year 2020 be the last money that the federal government sees out of your wallet. My name is Ralston. Thank you for listening.